Oh. Whatever. That was blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Fucking 4 o'clock. Am I doing to myself? Immediately blast.
Gas moving in. Gas is closing in. Relocating the safe zone.
Heading this way. Disregard my last.
Got gas moving in. Less than 5 to go. Bring home the win. Gas is closing. Get to the new safe zone. Losing ground.
So. Damn. What's fuck, dude?
One, but we'll be back to finish the job. Get yourself a proper warm-up. We'll be deployed soon. Done. Time to kick this off. Enemy dropping into the AR. Battle Royale. You've got gas closing in fast. Get to the safe zone.
If they say it wasn't the knee, it was the drugs, for the most part, Chauvin wins.
Yeah, of course. I don't think that there is any justification for sitting on him for that long. You had enough officers there to control him. He wasn't being violent. He was just trying to escape, and you already had him on the ground with the situation under control. There's just no reason for it. But trying to find that conviction with all the ancillary stuff to like a normal jury, I don't know if that's going to be really difficult or not.
It is the height of immorality and arbitrariness. I don't want to see that random chance dictate lifetime convictions.
Not sitting as much.
You shouldn't be sitting on your.
So
Yeah,
more. So what do you?
Higher.
Mean?
I don't
Okay.
think the cop's trying to be comfortable on Floyd, where that means all of his weight's going to be shifted to his knee, which is on George Floyd's neck.
If his right knee is not on his low back,
Definitely higher, yeah.
then that's different.
Yeah, it
There you
is.
go.
Well, I'll tell you, look,
that's
I'm
closer.
definitely going to have the continued spasm in my neck, which won't be fun to take to change my mind tomorrow. But again, I
Yeah.
can move my head right here. You're putting all your weight on me there, Tokanon?
It probably feels pretty uncomfortable for Tokunawa to be doing this.
And let's go back and forth, move to the other position on my shoulder where he spent most of the time.
I don't understand what the. So is the implication they just think that Floyd just OD'd on the floor? Is that what they seem to think?
And we know now, it's just kind of. No, so it wasn't on the shoulder. It was a little bit. Was that
Shoulder
where it was? When they
blade.
showed
I
the
just
shoulder?
don't see this as the same move, though.
What?
Dave, how do you see it as so different? Are you saying
Put up the photo.
the photo? Do you think all of his weight was on the front of his knee?
I do think that towards the end, all the weight was on the front of his knee. Yes, look at how he's leaned up. Look at how Tokunawa is.
What's the difference between what Tokunawa is doing versus the picture?
The picture looks to be
He's very
as
much
if he's higher.
The
See, that's two of
officer
us
is higher?
saying that. The officer is higher.
Okay,
absolutely.
so Tokunawa just makes your body upright.
Yeah,
No,
push it
not high. He's like
higher.
higher on his neck.
higher.
That's
He's saying trying to keep your body straight
About
up.
there, right about there. Yeah.
There you go.
That might be too high. A little back.
No, not you, Brennan.
So, Steven, did
Now,
that
Brendan,
change?
let's-
This, dude, this guy's. I don't even know if this knee is high enough for like a low bar squat. This guy's like fucking knee is on this guy's traps. Like, wait, he's not even on his neck at all. What is happening in this video? I don't understand what he's trying to prove. With like,
Well, I'll tell you what, it actually is less weight on me from when he got up. I have
Okay.
less weight on
He's
me.
probably
And again,
pushing up with
anyone
his
who knows
feet.
anything about grappling knows that the more upright you are that way, you actually can't exert downward. You can't exert, it's a diagonal pressure. Kind
Yeah.
of like when a wrestler shoots. A lot of people say, man, how did that wrestler shoot so quickly for a double leg? Because a lot of people think it's just powered by gravity. It's actually not. It's powered by a forward motion diagonal.
3
so you're
minutes
kind
left.
of propelling yourself down to the ground. So if
Right.
Tokunawa can lean, which he was doing before, he was kind of springing off the balls of his feet and putting more weight on me. There's less weight on me now.
But he already.
how is this not against TOS? Okay, Kelby Rose and Anonymous think this is against TOS. Sorry, I don't know. I don't even know how this is against TOS, but okay. Nelson objected to the forensic pathologist's sarcastic response. I thought that when you bring in an expert witness, I thought they weren't supposed to offer their opinion like that. I thought that an expert witness is just there to testify on behalf of like what is known, like academically or research-wise. Destiny, what do you mean? So like, Pisco, I thought that wouldn't her response here be like out of line when he's asking a question about like this for her to like remark, because she's essentially implying that like the data is rigged or something. Oh, here.
1.1 million police interactions, resulting in about 3,000 prone positions.
I think the defense is trying to make the argument here that prone position arrests aren't bad. And then I think, or here, you can watch it, I'm sorry. But he's trying to make that argument here.
So 1.1 million police interactions, resulting in about 3,000 prone position arrests. That those these are real people, real incidents, right?
Yeah.
And in those 3,000 or so interactions, there were no deaths that occurred.
Isn't that amazing? When you consider that virtually every forensic pathologist in the United States has probably had an officer-involved death like this. How did they... It utterly baffles me, which is why I kept saying Canada, because I think... I don't know what's different, but
I'm going to object
that,
this time is not
sorry.
responsive.
Yo,
What's up? Hit us up, go ahead.
pretty closely. I didn't catch the first part of that question, but it sounded like that it is precisely what the defense attorney was implying. But they objected as non-responsive the question. The experts are free to, it's up to the attorneys to say it's beyond the scope of their expertise, or for whatever reason it's not included in the report, so they can't cross-examine it effectively. That's all on the attorneys to object, and you saw effectively the defense attorney did there as non-responsive. Also, I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh, fuck.
Why do you keep saying that like murder 3 is more probable than murder 2?
Oh, I don't know.
Murder 3 is
Because
more
I
probable.
don't know. I feel like the felony murder shit is just so sweaty to try to nab a police officer on. We kind of talked about that, right?
A little bit, but
I thought you said that they could go down charges if one doesn't stick. Is that not true?
they can. They could convict on all 3 if they wanted to.
Oh, why not
But-
go for the highest then?
They're going for the highest. They're going for all of them. But in this case, I think the most plausible case is that of felony murder. But I don't know why Destiny think that's implausible. Do you think that a police officer shouldn't be liable for assault? Suppose I'll give you a hypothetical.
Well, no. So I think we talked about this a little in DMs. I was just saying that it feels like if you set the precedent that felony murder is okay to nab cops on, it feels like there's all sorts of like that would come up in like almost every single like wrongful death or whatever. Every single death that resulted from police interactions would all start to fall under that.
I'll preface this by saying I don't agree with felony murder anyway. I think it's a bad doctrine. But if we're going to have it, do you think that cops should be liable for felonious assault? So suppose that a cop pulls you over, takes you, and is, whatever the use of force here, it's okay for them to pull you over, and it's okay for them to cuff you, but instead of cuffing you, they just beat you over the head repeatedly with a flashlight. Would you think that cop should go to jail or at least be charged with assault?
Yeah, I think they should be charged with assault. Yeah, for sure, with battery or whatever, right?
And if that happened between normal people, same deal, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Now, if that happened between two normal people, and as a result of that assault, you didn't intend to kill that person, but the person just died because they had a traumatic, it was at the wrong time, the wrong place, and you just happened to kill them with your flashlight. That would be liable for felony murder, wouldn't you agree? It's an assault is an inherently dangerous felony.
Okay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't that just be?
It could be another form of murder.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't you get like second degree or something at that point? I thought felony murder is more like. Here's not my issue with felony murder. Maybe I just misunderstand felony murder. So you can tell me. My issue is, let's say that you're like 3 or 4 cops get called to a scene or something, right? And in the course of resolving an altercation, one cop engages in assault or like unprovoked, like something that would be charged, right? Not just he's not just trying to.
Yes.
I'm guessing, yeah. And let's say that in the course of doing that, somebody gets killed. Aren't you essentially saying that the 3 other cops could then be charged with felony murder as accomplices to that primary officer's assault? I thought that's what the main felony murder charge. Because like if you kill somebody in the commission of doing a violent crime on them, I don't think many people would disagree in that case. That like, wow, felony murder is horrible. In that case, it's almost like second degree murder or something, right? Like if it's like reckless endangerment of a person's life and you're engaging in activity. But I thought the felony murder shit is like you're the getaway driver for a robbery, and during the course of the crime, somebody has a heart attack in the gas station, and now you're looking at down the barrel of like a felony murder charge. I thought that was why people get so upset about felony murder.
So let's start even more basic. What in your mind? What's murder? Well, this is a good informational exercise, I think, for DGG as well.
What's
murder?
First degree?
Murder in general. No, just murder. What's murder?
The unjustified killing of another person
with malice. So the term that is the legal term of art that's used in the common law and for decades has been, or centuries really, is malice aforethought. And there are many ways to get to malice. Not all killings are murder, right? We talked about the Rittenhouse case. Obviously, you're familiar with other types of homicides, including negligent homicide and involuntary manslaughter, things like that. Those are types of potentially criminal homicides, sometimes not even criminal. I mean, some homicides are totally justified. Specifically, murder is a killing, a homicide with malice aforethought, an unjustified killing.
And the malice aforethought differentiates it from something like manslaughter, where maybe you get an accident.
Exactly,
yeah,
right. So you can have an intentional killing that's not murder, even if it's a crime. So there's such a thing as voluntary manslaughter. And in that case, you actually intended to kill someone, but the state or the government will downgrade your offense because of some other collateral circumstance, such as, let's say that you catch, I don't know, your girlfriend in bed with another person, or your wife, let's say, and you in the heat of passion kill your girlfriend or your wife and the person who's sleeping with her. That, in many jurisdictions, that might be downgraded to voluntary manslaughter. There's, in the sort of model penal code context, there's something called extreme emotional disturbance, and that's another way of downgrading what would be an intentional killing into manslaughter without malice. And likewise, you can have murder without intentionality. In fact, every single murder charge, the 2 murder charges in the Chauvin case, no one is alleging that Chauvin intended to kill George Floyd. None of the theories rely on that. The third degree, and don't get your guys' heads twisted.
I thought the second degree murder imply some intentionality, even if it lacks like forethought or whatever. That like if you were getting on a second, now for the third degree murder, my understanding is you're correct, but for the second degree murder, that would require him to have that malice of forethought. So
let's be clear. Every single state can have different rules about how they define their murders, and so degrees change between states. And so when we're looking at degrees, this is very specific to Minnesota, although other states might have similar type statutes. Minnesota defines second-degree murder as either an intentional killing So suppose that you're on the street, you see someone on the street, you don't like how he looks, you pick up a gun and just shoot him in the face. That would be an intentional killing, would be second-degree murder. You might be asking yourself, well, it's first-degree murder. In Minnesota and many other jurisdictions, there's an additional sort of factor known as premeditation. And that's essentially lying in wait, cold-blooded murder, where you planned it out a while back or something, or not even, it doesn't even have to be that long. But there's another theory of second-degree murder in Minnesota, and that's felony murder. And it's an easier charge to complete, which we'll explain in some reason. The third-degree murder in Minnesota and many other states is something that's known as reckless indifference murder or depraved heart murder. Evincing a depraved mind or without regard for human life. And that is when your behavior is very, very, very reckless. And it's so reckless that we're gonna attribute malice to you. You know, you shot randomly in a parking lot. Sure, you didn't intend to kill anybody, but it just so happens that you ended up killing someone. You were so reckless that the law is going to consider that malicious, and we're going to attribute malice aforethought to you.
Sure. And this was for second degree?
This would be for the context of Minnesota. That's third degree.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
what they're saying is Chauvin's knee was depraved, and his hold depraved an indifference for human life, namely George Floyd's. And there was this big discussion, legal discussion prior to the case about whether or not this conduct qualified for third degree. They actually dismissed the third degree charge for a big part of the pretrial stuff. The judge actually said, in Minnesota, you don't qualify for third degree, but you do qualify for second, because there was this discussion about whether or not the reckless conduct at issue can be particularized to a singular individual. And what happened is, in the middle of the proceedings of this case, a higher court came down and said it can be particularized and reversed the judge's decision to dismiss the third degree charge and reinstated the third degree charge. But that, I believe, right, and my understanding, my sense of it, is the standard for proving a reckless, depraved heart, sort of gross conduct beyond the scope of what the cop was allowed to do, is harder to prove than just a regular felonious assault. I mean, think about this. So one is just you intended to commit a felonious assault. So you're right that there is some intentionality that you have to prove, and that's namely the assault, the underlying qualifying felony. And so that needs to be proven no matter what by the prosecution. That to me seems much simpler to prove, that felonious assault. And once you've proven that intention to commit the felonious assault and the felony assault, you almost have murder de facto, so long as you prove. Remember, we had that conversation with Bastiat about whether felony murder requires causation. As long as you prove causation. And so much of the debate shows you that, in fact, I was right in that discussion. Causation is absolutely necessary. That's why they're having all these debates about whether or not it was drugs that killed him. Because if it was 100% drugs, or there was no substantial causative factor for the knee hold, then Chauvin walks. And that's why these expert witnesses about how he died are so important. Because if they say it wasn't the knee, it was the drugs, for the most part, Chauvin wins.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so my reading of it is, as a legal plausibility thing, to me, it's a lot easier to prove a felonious assault than this depraved heart standard and this gross departure.
Wait, so the depraved heart thing, you saying that would be third degree, or that would also be second degree?
That would be third degree. That would be third degree. And it's weird because the second degree, for me, it would be extremely weird to see a third degree murder conviction, a manslaughter conviction, and not a second degree conviction. Because if you prove that he's, gone far beyond the standard, you prove that he's caused the death already, how can you have not proven the simple felonious assault? It would seem almost to be a byproduct of. And how
would you prove the assault? Sorry, say this again.
Right. So one of the big other questions besides causation is, what is the police standard, in fact? Right? So everyone's talking about, well, is this knee hold acceptable? Did they teach it? Is this a gross departure? Is this, what was the crowd acting like? Were the cops confused? Did they hear things? Did they not hear things? Those kind of factors play into whatever the police standard was. And because you can have, as you know, cops interact with people all the time in aggressive ways. They have to do their job. You can't just have a system where if I believe that cops shouldn't be allowed to touch you, I don't know what I would say to you in the defense of property cases, because then it really would be you let all the robbers of the world get away with everything.
Yeah, there has to be some implicit threat of violence behind every police interaction.
Correct.
Otherwise, you would just infinitely avoid cops, or who the fuck would care if a cop was approaching you? Just walk away and never
That's
talk to
right.
them, yeah.
But you, of course, you would probably be aghast at the flashlight example I gave you. Like, you would, of course, want that, whoever that cop was who hit me with a flashlight when he only should have, did a DWI check, he should go to jail, right?
Yeah,
And so,
or be charged, yeah.
Or be charged. And so the question is, was this a departure from the use of force standard? And was it so you can already see why it's so much harder and complicated to charge police officers, because they have a ready-made defense of justification for their use of force. And so that's what makes oftentimes charging these cops very difficult. In the case of the Breonna Taylor shooting, I don't know if you remember, there was no charge in that case for the cops who actually shot at and supposedly killed Breonna Taylor.
Wait, oh no, for those cops, for sure. And I mean, I don't think there should have been any charges for the shooting. I don't know about the breaking and entering, but the guy that shot from outside, that guy was charged.
That guy was charged, but so notice what he was charged with.
Reckless endangerment or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why wasn't he charged with the murder? Because
he wasn't the one that hit them.
He didn't cause it.
Yeah.
Right. And so because he didn't cause it, they can't even charge him with manslaughter because he didn't cause it. They determined, right? And remember, this wasn't a jury determination. This was, people have discussions about this, so that you should trust the police. They had a quote unquote special prosecutor, I think, brought in but I think he might have just been the state attorney general. I don't know what the deal was with him. But he determined that that there was no charge to be had on murder because the bullets that killed her came from the cops at the door, and he determined that the cops at the door were justified in shooting, and so no charge because they were justified, even though there's no dispute that they killed her. There's no dispute, and there's no dispute that she's innocent, in fact, right? And she didn't do anything as far as we know, but they nonetheless said that she was justified. And also, I'm seeing something in the chat as well about qualified immunity. Get the qualified immunity thing out of your head. That's mostly in the context of civil cases and the extent to which you can find civil damage liability for